Today we're going to be fixing some more of my bad code. So the code snippet you see here on the screen comes from the backend Node server, which supplies my Chrome extension with all of the scores and standings data from the National Hockey League. This static array represents all of the months of the current NHL season. I use this information to create a JSON object where the keys are the days of the current season and the values are arrays containing all of the game data for each day. The first step in creating this JSON object is initializing the object with the keys and empty values. We accomplish this by setting the current date variable equal to the start date of the season and incrementing this date until we finally reach a date that is outside of the current season. We're determining whether or not a date is within the current season by validating that its month and year are included in the static array at the top. This is obviously not ideal since these values that represent the months of the season have to be manually updated every year. Similar to the previous video in the series, while manual code changes are not hard to make, they're very unnecessary and represent terrible code hygiene. So the goal of my code changes is to replace these static values with helper functions that will calculate the values dynamically. This first function is what the application will now be using to calculate all of the months of the current season in the same format seen before. Since hockey seasons start in September and end in June, it's important that I get the year right since it will change halfway through the season. I've also excluded July and August since there are no games during this time. One thing you might notice is that I'm using module.exports since this file is in CommonJS format. If you're not familiar with what this means, I'll leave links to a few articles in the description that explain the differences between CommonJS and ES modules. Here are some examples to better explain what the output of the previous function will look like. Unless there is a major disruption to the season like what happened in 2020 or 2021, no changes will be required in this code going forward. The next utility function I've written will calculate the start date of the season dynamically. The logic of the code is pretty similar to that of the previous function, but much less work is involved. If you remember the original code, I had marked the start date of the season as September 24th. While this date was accurate for the most recent season, there's no guarantee on the exact start date each year, so I decided to add some padding and go with September 1st as the default. As you can see, the output of this function is pretty straightforward. So that's it for this pull request. I'm happy to have the minor changes out of the way, so now I can focus more on the major improvements for the September release. The next changes I'm targeting will be to add a mechanism for restarting the backend server on a regular basis and adding functionality to alert me when the server is down. Thanks for watching this code walkthrough, and have a great day.